Morning. So my name is Naman Habib. I'm the Federal Sales Director for Central in the Homeland Security Justice Sector. And it is my distinct honor to introduce our morning keynote speaker, Anita Riley. Anita Riley serves as the GSA's Chief Customer Officer. She and her team seek to improve the end-to-end customer experience of GSA customers by aligning operations to customer needs. They use quantitative and qualitative data and human-centered methods to identify and implement processes and technology solutions. Before joining GSA, Anita led data analytics and budget-focused projects at the Department of Treasury with a mission to use real-time resource management data to improve managerial decision-making. She holds a certified Lean Six Sigma Green Belt and also a project management professional PMP certification with prior experience in both the public and private sector organizations. Anita also earned a Master in Business Administration from the College of William & Mary and a Bachelor of Science degrees in Human Resource Management and Investment Finance. So please join me in welcoming Anita Riley, our keynote speaker, Chief Customer Officer for GSA.
Thank you, Naman, and good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for Can you hear me okay? Yes, okay. I know there's construction going on in the building next door, so I'm going to talk loud, try to distract you from the noises around, and you will just be listening to the gloriousness of my voice, right? I will use my yoga projection voice. So before we get started here today, can I see a show of hands? Close your eyes so you're honest. Close your eyes and check, and I'll call you out. Everyone's got their eyes closed. Raise your hand if you know the difference between customer experience and customer service. Wow. Wow. Okay, you can put your hands down and open your eyes now. That's amazing. When we first started, as Martha said, the room was half full and maybe a couple people raised their hands. That is amazing. Right now, at least 75% of you in the room knew that difference. And so not to shame people that didn't, because you're in the right spot. If you don't yet, you will. But this is just wonderful and goes to show how much has changed in this environment today. How much has really evolved in even the last year, the last 2 years, the last 3 years, 4 years since I've been doing this. And I've been asking this question for a while because I wanted to see what my audience knows, what people are doing to be able to understand the people that I'm working with, to understand my customers, but to really see where we are as an organization, as a government in customer experience. So back in 2016, when I stepped into this role, customer experience wasn't really a thing that government did or focused on. Sure, customer service was. We're civil servants after all. We cared about customer service. We cared about the importance of customers in government. But customer experience was new, it was touchy, it was feely, it sounded kind of cool, but maybe it was a fad, it would go away. We weren't quite sure what to do with it just yet. As you can see, things have changed. We didn't really know that customer experience, which is the sum of a customer's perception with their end-to-end interactions with a brand or an organization, matters, and it matters a lot. And it can really drive operational efficiencies, it can drive savings, it can drive cost avoidance, it can make your employees happier, which who doesn't want happy employees, right? Happy employees, happy customers, win-win situation, happy stakeholders all around when people are happy. Anybody see Legally Blonde? Yeah? Happy, exercise gives you endorphins, and endorphins make you happy, and I won't continue the rest of the quote there. But the same with customer experience. When you focus on customer experience, people are happy, and they are enjoying what they do, and that drives operational efficiencies. There's less rework, there's less errors, there's more compliance. We see all of that when we focus on customer experience. So, we started to focus on this seriously at GSA back in about late 2014, 2015 timeframe. We are the General Services Administration. Service is literally in our name. We care about our customers. And we knew that we needed to take this end-to-end approach to start to think about customer experience. But we didn't want to do what might have traditionally been done in government, where you throw a bunch of resources, and rightfully so, you make a big deal about it, because we didn't want customer experience to just become one person's job. It's everybody's job. So by having a small team at the center of the agency reporting to the top, we're able to work to gather resources across the agency, unite the agency together on behalf of our customers, and drive improvement for the American public. So GSA, what do? We're the nation's landlord. We acquire space on behalf of the federal government through leasing, new construction. We act as caretaker for federal properties. We're the largest public real estate organization in the US, and we own or lease about 8,700 assets, it's a lot, and maintain an inventory of 371 million square feet. Jeopardy fact for you. We provide the federal government over 28 million different products and services. It's a lot, right? Yeah, it's a lot. That's a lot that we do. And annually deliver over $54 billion in IT products, solutions, telecommunications, transportation, assisted acquisition services, credit cards, motor vehicles. The list goes on. And I say all of that so that you see that our customers, the federal government, generally interacts with us not just once or with one program. They interact with us many times, over and over and over again, throughout their career in the government themselves. So by taking this end-to-end focus on our customers, we're able to ensure that no matter which group they're dealing with, which business line, they walk away with that positive experience, that likelihood, that desire to comply, to come back, to be happy, and that makes our employees happy. What employee ever wants to raise their hand and say, I'm sorry, I can't do that, or I'm sorry, I know this is terrible, I can't fix this for you. We want to fix it for our employees, for our customers, through our employees, and empower our employees to do better. So basically, we help government get its work done, which is really exciting to be talking about customer experience today. Have this focus on IT because IT is one of the strongest levers we have to improve our customer experience. While I spend a lot of time in the past talking about what CX was, well, if you weren't awake then, you are awake now. I really hope no one got a picture of me. Please delete it if so. All right. Okay. Better now. Let's take a deep breath in. Let's let it go. And let's ignore everything else. When I started back in 2016 and talking about customer service versus customer experience, I spent a lot of time talking about what is customer experience, why does it matter. Today, I'm more so talking about what do our customers want, not why do we care what they want, but what do they actually want, and how do we achieve that across the entire organization? How do we work together to do so efficiently? The administration's focus on customer experience through major initiatives like the President's Management Agenda and the Cross-Agency Priority Goal for Customer Experience. You have OMB's Circular A11 update, Section 280 on customer experience, which really drives the focus on measurement and on improving interactions with government. You've got the 21st Century Integrated Digital Experience Act, 21st Century IDEA. These have all further highlighted the importance of CX in government and why we must focus on the ultimate customer, the American public. The American public who experiences government through life events deserves a better, more streamlined, integrated experience across all of our agencies, all of our programs. And it's why we come to government to serve, because we want to do what's best for the American public. So the PMA, President's Management Agenda, is set around, and I quote, designing effective and modern government capabilities that work on behalf of the American people, with an added focus on service, mission, stewardship. Its key drivers for transformation are, no surprise, IT modernization, data, accountability and transparency, and people, workforce for the 21st century idea. There's the Customer Experience Cross-Agency Priority Goal, GSA supporting, working with the Veterans Affairs, and many other agencies across government. It's got a highlight in digital services. We talk about improving measurement of experiences, increasing trust in government, leveraging technology to break down barriers and increase communication. So there you've got digital services and technology mentioned because they are really important levers to do what we need to do in a very effective and efficient way. This is also a big focus for 25 high-impact service providers identified in, as I mentioned, OMB Circular A11, Section 280. If you haven't read it, go read it. It's only like 8 pages. It's not bad. It's a pretty easy read, written in plain language, designed around humans, applying human-centered design principles, which we like to do. Show of hands if we have any of these high-impact service providers in the room. Got a couple in here. Good. So the high-impact service providers are not the only ones. They've been identified to focus on customer experience, but they're not the only ones that are starting to do this. I'm hearing more and more from agencies across the board who stumbled across the CAP goal and the PMA work and Section 280 and said, this sounds really smart. I've got huge budget cuts that I've got to take. I've got to improve my customer experience. I know that by improving experience, I'm going to reduce duplication, increase transparency, create a better organization for my employees and my customers, and here's a really good set of tools to do so. I'm opting in. They're not held to the same reporting requirements, but they're taking it upon themselves to start to focus on customer experience, and that is really exciting. People understand the benefit of this. So 2016, we're talking about why people should care. 2019, they're raising their hand saying, I care a lot, I want to get involved, which is why you're all here today, so this is fantastic. We also see at GSA, our strategic initiatives are aligned here. We have, as you keep hearing me say, effective and efficient government. It's why I love my job. These are core values to me, efficiency, effectiveness. These are accomplished through our mission of delivering values and savings in real estate, acquisition technology, mission support services, and all this is supported with our values of innovation, accountability, and service. 21st century idea. Show of hands as to who's heard of this? Yeah, that's what I thought. It's a good one. It's a really good one. It's an exciting opportunity to work across the agency as this unifying force to improve customer experience. Through sections on website modernization, digitization of services and forms, electronic services, electronic signatures, and then CX and digital service delivery, it has a strong focus on making the government more accessible to the American public. How amazing is that? When we worked and we saw this come across at GSA, my team, being that unifying force across our business silos, brought everyone together. We had IT in the room, we had legal, we had communications, business lines, we had, who else was in the room? Everyone was in that room, a room full of executives across the agency. And we said, how are we going to do this? Everyone here is involved. Who is going to lead this effort? I raised my hand. I said, I know everyone's got day jobs and you're all called out here, IT, you are very specifically called out here, but so is everyone else. We've got to work together as an agency to address these issues that are no longer optional. They're required by law. That is a wonderful opportunity to start to drive focus on the customer and to pull people together from parts of the agency. People, again, are raising their hand. They're not sitting in the back, crossing their arms, saying, I'm too busy, I don't want to work with you. They're raising their hand saying, how can I get involved? This is something I've seen myself for a long time. I didn't know how to raise it, and now I see an opportunity to raise it, and I want to work together to make it happen. Not a lot of money that we have to spend or a lot of things we have to do to get off the ground, but a lot of opportunity to work together and figure out how can we do this efficiently and effectively. So as I continue on, we've got the, we'll talk about that one. We've got the Centers of Excellence. I'm not going to talk too much about them because we've got a great panel coming up. They're smiling in the back there. Their conference room is right next door to mine. It is a lovely day that we have. We even do yoga together. And I'd be remiss to not talk about yoga even more because yoga means, quite literally, it's yoke. It means to unite, to bring together. And customer experience is also that unification, bringing of minds and disciplines together on behalf of something greater. So, how do we do all of this across the agency? How do we know where to start, where to focus our efforts? We rely on data. Data which is often collected, analyzed, and presented with the help of technology. It is essential to move us forward to bringing this customer centricity to government, becoming a customer-obsessed government. I can't say enough about its importance. And I rely every day on 3 types of data. I rely on quantitative data, or surveys, indicators, measurements that something is statistically significant. Qualitative data, so observational studies, interviews, other ethnographic research, gives us the motivation to act. It makes things personal, brings the customer front and center to life right in front of them. Operational data. So we've got at GSA the Digital Analytics Program and Web Stats, system information, helps you connect the soft, the touchy, the feely, the feel-good qualitative data with the survey information, with system information, like what's actually happening, how many transactions are going through, how much money are we spending, how do we know how to prioritize? With these things pulled together, you can see where it's obvious to prioritize. And then we can focus on the importance of evidence and evaluation in all of this. We use this for assessing ROI, impact of programs through short-term pilots. Get in, make an assessment, make a judgment, get the data, talk about it across the board, get feedback out there, connect the dots, apply human-centered design throughout. We would be nothing if we didn't apply human-centered design. As we're talking about customers if we don't do so in a way that is designed around the people that we want to work with, we're not going to get off the ground, we're not going to move. And so that's why a lot of this is so exciting to me, because the language, the legislation, President's management agenda is all designed around people. So I talked about human-centered design, the importance of user experience. We also use customer experience management systems, customer relationship management systems. We're using it holistically across the board to get further insight into our data. Artificial intelligence and virtual reality, chatbots and contact centers, looking at incorporating technology to provide a more seamless experience for our customers. Robotics process automation. CFO recipes for success. We've got a community of practice at GSA focusing on this because it is so important to help streamline and take some of the manual effort out of the equation so our employees can focus on what matters to our customers. We've got digital and mobile enhancements coming across the board, further highlighted thanks to my friend 21st Century Idea, and ensures accessibility for all. And then lastly, we're measuring all of this to know that we're successful through things like evidence and evaluation, but even without a formal program, we're seeing government-wide measurements come to light on resources like performance.gov. So before I stop rambling and allow some time for questions, I'd be remiss if I didn't just continue to touch upon the importance of customer experience with employee experience. The two are interrelated, and the more that we see that, we bring that to light, we focus on our internal employees, create these happy, enabled, empowered employees who care about customers. They will then turn around and provide that experience externally as well. When approached thoughtfully and strategically, technology becomes a huge tool to help us make this happen. It makes everything easier, faster, smarter, more transparent, better. It is one tool that really helps us deliver in a way that makes sense. And I'm excited for the lineup today. You're going to hear from a lot of great speakers who are going to touch on probably everything that I've talked about in more detail. With that, I'll pause for a moment and see if there are any questions. Silence. I can wait. I'm okay. We can do some yoga too if people want. I know Kevin Yulpage was up here a couple of years ago singing the national anthem. Like what he's saying? I'm looking at Kathy and Martha who are here. I won't sing. I definitely won't sing. But I will do some yoga if you'd like. Yes?
I'm Jenny Helford from Business Management Solutions.
I'll repeat the question too.
I'm Jenny Helford from Business Management Solutions, and I just wondered if you could give us one or two examples, either at GSA or another agency, that things was really switch something around to show that this is
Sure. So, this one on, Lewis? Okay, good. Okay, I'll move back to the microphone. You don't want to blast. So, a couple of examples of how we've seen something that really switched, flips the switch in customer experience thinking. So there's this moment that I had, and when I started at GSA, it was 4 years ago now, I thought for sure I would work myself out of a job in 3 years. So 3 years is a good time. You can get in, you can make a lot of waves, you can make a lot of impact. 3 years, people are going to notice I'm not going to be needed anymore, I'm going to walk away. It's been 4 years, I'm still there. But there have been areas where we have seen that switch flipped. I was in a meeting again with a bunch of executives from different parts of the organization, different business lines. We were talking about digital experience. I had a very senior executive who has been with the agency for a while. She's known, she's respected. She raised her hand without me saying it and said, we need to not be afraid to call our babies, our systems, our investments, things that we've been working on for the last 30 years, ugly. We can call our babies ugly and we can walk away from those and work towards the greater good. We know the customer experience matters. We know the journey our customers go through matter. And we are going to work towards that together as a leadership team. And when I heard this, everyone in the room, 30 people, started nodding their heads and saying, yes, customer journey is our #1 focus here. We're going to align that experience around that customer journey. And this is part of our federal marketplace initiative, the strategy that we've got, looking at end-to-end different parts of the organization, how we improve the buying experience for government. This came out of that, and that was one of those moments where I was just like, all right, I'm good here. This is awesome. I'm still there. There's still other parts that we can work on, a lot of the internal stuff too. But that was one of those defining moments where people get it. They understand. They know who to work with. They come to us to help build those bridges oftentimes, to look for the data as to where we should be looking and building those bridges. to make connections where they might not already exist. But they know that there's a lot that we can be doing together, and when we work together, we see things that we might not have seen otherwise. Yes, Martha?
So the 21st century idea brings together, gives the CIOs a lot of responsibility for digital services. And like GSA, you have as chief customer officer as well as some other agencies. How do you recommend first bringing together digital services teams, the CIOs, and the chief customer officers? And then my second question is about what are some specific tactics you can use to get your leadership to buy in on the importance of customer experience?
Great, so two-part question, thank you, Mark. The first around under 21st century idea, bringing together CIOs, customer experience officers, other parts of the agency, and then the second part of getting buy-in across the board. So with the first part, in that meeting that we had, we said, here's the 21st century idea in a few months, because there was the first deliverable due on June 18th. We had a deliverable due, so we sat there, we looked at the bill, and then we pulled together all the people, some of whom are in the room today. Hello, friends. We said, let's talk about this. Let's see how are we going to tackle this. There's a very significant role for IT here. We've got a chief customer officer. There's experience in the title here. Naturally, there's a fit. And I sat down with our IT and our GSA, our CIO. We said, how do we want to work on this? And we agreed that we were going to designate parts of customer experience, the broad vision of customer experience, to me as the chief customer officer. So that's just a very tactical thing that we're doing because this is my mission day in and day out to work across the agency. But I can't do that alone. I need everyone else in that organization, in GSA, in government, to work together, hand in hand on some of these issues. We are partners in this. I have a small team of 6 people. I literally cannot do this alone. But it doesn't make sense because it is not just my responsibility, it is everyone in our agency's responsibility. So through these conversations, through sharing journey maps at senior leadership team meetings about the customer's experience through buying or selling or working through our space, we've raised the focus on what that end-to-end journey is. We removed essentially the blame game or that's not my job, that's so-and-so's job, by showing that front stage experience. What happens from the customer's perspective? What do they see? What do they experience through a journey map? And then behind the scenes, we're able to say, well, this was these 5 groups, or this was these 2 groups. They were working here, they need to work together. Or this handoff just isn't happening and it needs to happen. So journey maps is one of those best tools we can get to get that leadership buy-in. And then storytelling, but showing data, operational data. How much are we investing? How much do we end up saving? How much are we duplicating resources by not having these conversations? And bringing that to light at the senior leadership level. It moves away from a blame game, we don't want to look bad, and it's not that conversation. It's we want to work together on behalf of our customers. We want to achieve our mission, which is helping government get its work done, and help them achieve their missions of serving the American public. Any other questions? Yeah, Kathy.
Hi, Kathy Conrad with the Center. Andy, I love your notion that you need all 3 kinds of those data in order to have the evidence to act. Can you talk a little bit about how you make that data available so that business leaders can act on it and drive those kind of improvements that you're talking about?
Great question. How do we make data, qualitative, quantitative, operational data available so that business leaders can act on it? Great question. We use centralized reporting platforms. We've got data to decisions platform at GSA where we take data just quite logistically. We take data from different parts of the agency and put them on interactive tools, Tableau, MicroStrategy, this, that, the other, where anyone in the agency can log in through max.gov and see information. We make the information downloadable, but we present it in a way that it can be analyzed, it can be tabulated differently, and then we put our reports, and we have our reports available for every level of the organization. Contact center data comes in, we link it to customer satisfaction data, to numbers of transactions that we're seeing, and then we show that across the board through this centralized reporting platform that we can point people back to. All of that said, we do this in a human-centered way. So sometimes some of our people in the agency that we're working with aren't very reporting centric. They're not going to go and pull up D2D no matter what level of the organization they're in. And so we then will do some PowerPoints And we'll sit down and talk to them. We talk to people like we want them to talk to their customers, in English, in plain language, in words that make sense to them. And then we show them, hey, the information's here. We're not trying to keep it separate. We're not trying to keep it secret. We want to be transparent with all this. When we have pilots, we talk about what happened. We talk about what we learned. We tell that story as to why we're going to continue with the work or why we're going to walk away, especially when we're going to walk away when we learn something that didn't work in a pilot, so that people don't repeat that same experience. They learn from it, and we can only do so by being transparent. We use Google Suite across the agency, put information out there, and we share. We create very strong sharing rules. Of course, keeping privacy rules intact, cybersecurity is very important. But we put it there so people in the agency can access it, and then we talk about it. Great, any other questions? Oh, yes.
So in industry, the metrics for improving customer experience are increased revenues, increased store sales. Can you talk about some of the metrics in government for customer experience improvements?
That's a great question. Some of the metrics in government for increasing customer experience, since we don't traditionally look at increasing revenues. There are lots of parts of government, surprisingly, including part of GSA, that do think about net promoter scores. But other parts, we look at cost savings. We look at time to serve. We don't necessarily always focus on time to serve, since as we all know in contact centers, quick resolution doesn't always mean the right resolution. But we do consider it where it makes sense. We look at volume and traffic and rework. Rework is a big one. How many times are things escalated? Every time something's escalated, a lot of rework has to go into that, or a lot of additional time spent. We look at overall customer satisfaction. That is very important to us. And one of the metrics that I love the most is this notion of trust. Trust in government, confidence in government. Are we acting in your best interest? And we measure this across our agency. There are groups that measure this across all of governments that we're looking at. We're looking at this in OMB Circular A11 and through the cross-agency priority goal, because there are times where we can't often operate very quickly, or there's security measures, things that are costly that are important to do, and that ROI doesn't necessarily tell the whole story, but that trust metric. In compliance world, sometimes customers aren't always happy. We're telling them, no, you may not do this, or no, it is against this policy for good reason. But if they know why we are doing this, and they trust that it is in their best interest, and we are here to serve and do what government does to serve and to act in someone's best interest, sky's the limit. And so we look at that and we combine that emotional metric with all the operational metrics, and we pull that together to see the whole story. Great. I think there's time for maybe one last question before I turn it over to Janine. All right. Well, thank you all so much. As I promised, the construction stopped, so you're in for a great moment.